Hello there, and welcome to yet another episode of John Works Too Much. All right, today we are going to be laying more luxury vinyl plank, and I've showed you guys this before, so this is what it looks like, and it's very magical. It's got the pad built right in there. It's 100% waterproof, very durable. You can form snap it, which is nice. We can lay right over linoleum because it's so thin, so we can just lay right over that. Now we're going to have to take this carpet out. But that's fine. And so we'll take the carpet out, carpet pad, carpet tack out, and then we got to take the baseboards off like this, right? So we take this off so we can lay the plank underneath, and then we put the baseboards back on top. We also have to cut underneath the door jambs so that we can get the flooring underneath that. All right, so a lot of you guys hopefully are about to go back to work because you finally decided like the government's not going to pay your bills anymore and you got to put your little girl panties back on and actually work again. So I'm going to give you a little bit of advice. Number 8, a lot of people are like, if my boss would pay me more, then I'd work harder. Have you heard that before, JJ?
Yeah, a couple times.
Right, and here's the truth. If you worked harder and were more productive, your boss would pay you more. If you became invaluable to the company and you just took initiative and like went in there and like, hey, you don't have to tell me what to do. You give me the instructions in the morning, and at lunch I'm like, this is what I've done. What else do you want me to do? Here's your list, and then you do it. You come back and everything's done, and you don't need to come back behind me and babysit me. Your boss is like, that guy's worth something. And as a business owner, I will tell you that is tremendously valuable. At which point I'm like, I want to keep that guy. I want more people like that. We're girl. I apologize. I work girls too. A lot of them. So with that mentality, rather than saying if my boss will pay me more, I'll work harder, because that is a backwards mentality. Your boss looks at you as basically, and don't take offense to this, worthless, because you are just a meat robot that like barely does your job, and that's embarrassing for him. And he's like, ugh, you are a strain on me. You are, and I know so many business owners, they're like, my people, like, how have they done this for this long and they can't get this basic task right? So that becomes very frustrating. But if you walk in and you go, I want to learn this, I'm going to do it, and not in a bossy way, but just I'm going to take care of business, you will become very valuable. And so on that same line of thinking, a lot of people are like, if God would do miracles, I would believe. And the truth is, if you believe, God will do miracles. And just to be clear, and I forget about this because I've been a Christian for a long time, a lot of people feel like miracles happened a long time ago. Like back in the Bible days, that's when miracles happened. Like they don't happen anymore. And that is 100% not true. I can't tell you how many miracles have happened in my life. And I mean, I know people are like, oh yeah, the miracle of birth and all this. That is a miracle. But I just want to say, like, legit, like there's no way that there's this many coincidences in life. Miracles happen all the time. If you 100% believe, just shut off that part of you that doubts. Shut off that part of you that's like, but what if this doesn't happen and I look like a fool? What if it does? What if it doesn't work out like you thought? You're no worse off. Believe that God is going to do a miracle, and I promise you, God will do a miracle. And we're going to do a miracle right here because we're about to lay this floor. So here pretty quick, we're going to show you the transformation that happens when you apply your faith and put it in action. All right, see you guys soon. Bye. Oh, hey there. So just putting in some laminate, and I thought I'd leave a little note for the next guy. I don't know if you can come around here and take a look at this. So they're going to pull up this floor, and it's going to say, we've been trying to get in touch with you about your car's extended warranty. Because I'm a horrible person. So a couple things I think are important to think about. Number one, sunburn means something very different to a vampire. So think about that, because it does. And then what else do you think, JJ? What else is important stuff?
Laminate flooring.
Laminate flooring is important stuff, but also we need some nonsense. These people, you know what? Our viewers have hard lives, and maybe they need some love, need something to laugh at, and I'm just a clown for them to laugh at. So I took a DNA test. Have you done one of those yet?
No, not yet.
Yeah. And it turns out, I'm sorry. I'm just sorry for who I am. I don't know what to tell you guys. You don't have to watch. Like, you could turn the channel, scroll on by, whatever you want to do. But once again, that's heavily laminated. Oh, it's over here when you want to cut a finisher. Hopefully when you dig in your butt, you pull out a pencil and not fries, because that would be horrible. And then next time you dig in your butt, pull out a knife, a square. So this stuff is corn snap, which is pretty cool. Which means you just cut it with a knife and then so. Pretty magical, don't you think? Really beats the old stuff. I'm telling you, it really, really beats the old stuff. Alright, hope you have a wonderful Saturday. I'm working, as usual. Loving me about. Oh, hey, you guys are still watching? So, today, we laid this laminate, so come on with me. This is a luxury bottom plank, and it is wonderful stuff. It's 100% waterproof, very durable, scratch resistant. You can beat with a hammer. It's really nice. So we took out the washer dryer, put them back in, went around the water heater, took out the fridge, put it back in, stove, dishwasher, all that, and then laid all this laminate. We took out all the baseboards and then put them all back in and caulked them. So that's pretty amazing. So I want to tell you guys a quick story. First, let me preface that by saying that if you're a Christian, the world is watching and waiting for you to fall. I'm sorry, but that's just how it is. Let me tell you why, okay? They want you to fall, and they want to find you doing something wrong and catch you like, aha, because if you fall, then that gives them the excuse to be like, see, they're not that big of a deal. They're not what they say they are. They're hypocrites. Therefore, I'm justified, and I can continue to do whatever in the world I want to. So they want you to fall because that means that they don't have to feel as bad about themselves. But, hear me out on this. More than that, they deeply, whether they know it or not, want you to succeed. Because if you succeed, if you stand firm, and if you are just filled with faith, and if miracles happen all around you, then that gives them hope, because that means that they really can succeed. And there really is hope, and they really can have some way out of the mess that they're in. So stay strong. Now I'm going to give you an example. Okay, I told you I'd tell you a story, so here's the story. When I was 16, I just got saved. You guys know I've been a drug dealer and overdosed and died. And I was like, I'm ready to do my life different. I'm going to start completely over. I'm done with this life. I'm a new creation. I'm done. And so I got a job at Applebee's. First I went to Jesus People USA and served homeless people for a while. And then I got a job at Applebee's as a dishwasher for 6 months. And while I was there, I worked long hours. I know that's a surprise to you. But I would open and I would close. So I'd get there really early before the store opened, before the restaurant opened, and then work all the way through until they close at 2 a.m. and then clean up afterwards and get up and do the same thing again. So I was very tired a lot of times, and I worked hard. There was this cook, and he hated me, and I knew he hated me. He openly hated me. Here's a few examples of how his hate was expressed in action. So he would throw tomatoes at me. Not that big of a deal. He would throw steak knives at me. Okay, bigger deal. He poured bleach on my feet so that the skin off the top of my feet peeled off. One night, I had opened and closed. I was cleaning out the bathrooms. I walked into the kitchen, and him and everybody that works there was standing with the water hose, scalding hot water, and hosed me down with scalding hot water, and then all laughed at me. And he came to me later. You know, I didn't really make a thing out of it, but he came back to me later when he was alone, and he said, you know why I mess with you so much? I'm like, yeah. And he goes, it's because you're a Christian, and I hate you for it. I hate you for the fact that you're a Christian, because I used to be one, and then I got into drugs, and I started sleeping with my girlfriend, and she got pregnant, and we had an abortion, and I abandoned God, and you will too. And I was like, well, I'm really sorry that you went through that. I'm really sorry that you feel that way. Fast forward, I don't know, a couple months. I'm walking into the kitchen, and I overhear, as I'm walking in, not on purpose, some people saying bad things about me. And then this same guy, this cook, stands up and says, don't you say anything bad about John. As I'm opening the door, I hear whatever the bad thing was, and don't you say anything bad about John as I'm opening the door. And I just pretended not to hear anything and went on about my way. And he comes up to me later by myself, and he says, do you know why I stood up for you? And I'm like, bro, I have no idea. And he goes, it's because you're a Christian. I've never seen anybody live their faith like you, and I want to see you succeed. You give me hope. And so hopefully that gives you guys hope to stand firm, because people are watching you. 100% of the time they're watching you, and they're looking to you like, is there actually hope? So stay true. All right, anyway, we're going to get the rest of this done. I got to go film a concert tonight. My friends are in a band called American Petty, which is a Tom Petty cover band. So if you want to come out and see them, I will be filming. And Lawrence Swink does drums on a lot of my music, and he's an amazing drummer and an amazing person, and so come out there and support him. All right, we'll be good. Good morning. I hope that you guys are having a wonderful Monday, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend and a good Sunday. So if you remember, on Saturday, we laid this floor, but then I had to film a concert on Saturday night, so we left early, so that's all we did. But now we're prepping a floor, so I want to kind of show you a couple things. First, we have to, we took the carpet out. Here, then we took all the carpet pad out, then we took all the carpet tack out and baseboards out, and then we cut the bottom of the doors off. And then we swept. And it looks really nice. It's ready for us to lay a floor in here. But let me show you something that you don't normally see, okay? Wait a minute. Come in here. You're telling me that when you do construction, there's dirt and dust? Well, as a matter of fact, there is. And I don't know if that's like a new COVID strain or what. That's probably all the dust. So this is air intake, right? So this is a return air, which means that right here is an air conditioner, and you can't just, you have to take air from somewhere, right? And so it comes up through this into a filter and then goes in here and then distributes and cools or heats it and distributes it throughout your house. So you want to, and I know this is a shocker for a lot of you, clean your air filter after you get construction done, because otherwise it's going to get all choked up and then you're going to have a problem later, and then you're going to be like, why is my air conditioner locked up? Change your air filter after you do it, and then wait a month and then change it again. That's smart. Okay, so speaking of cleaning up, I just want to brag on some people. There are superheroes in life that a lot of times don't get recognition. So there's a guy that goes to my church, and his name is Russ Warren, and he's 82 years old. Great guy, humble man. He was a pilot, very successful, but also very humble. You just see him and you just think, what a wonderful man. But maybe you don't think that. But then you start hearing things about him, and you go, what a wonderful man. So he has dedicated, I don't know how many years of his life, to a prison ministry. And he goes into the prisons day after day, week after week, year after year, and teaches classes that take about a year. And there's different, you can come in at any point, and then you get a certificate at the end of it. But he teaches you practical life skills, a lot of Bible stuff, but also how to be a man, how to take care of your finances, not get in trouble, not come back to prison, all this kind of thing. And a lot of times, he tells these guys, man up. Because look, we grew up in a fatherless generation, and there wasn't a man to kind of show us in the house, this is how you shave your face, this is how you read a tape measure, this is how you do these things. And so, we end up with a lot of entitled, lazy, I think afraid to actually do anything men that are then having children and passing that on. And he's like, man up, do the right thing. And so because of that, normally prison recurrence rates, right? So if you go to prison and you get out, the likelihood that you're going to end up back in prison is around 80%. So that's a pretty high percentage rate. But because of the work that he does in the prison that he works in, it is 27%. And I just admire that, and I'm so grateful for that, because just think about what that does for those men. You give them dignity. You give them a life that they would not have otherwise had. And think about their families and all the people that love them. They're like, they finally are a better person. Think about all the future victims that don't end up becoming victims because that person is now clean, sober, a Christian, living a good life, and not getting in trouble with the law anymore. So I just want to say hats off to you for doing such an amazing thing. And I want to encourage you guys, because a lot of times I hear people say there ought to be a program for, and people ought to do this thing, and if I get enough money, I'm going to start a program where other people do these nice things. And I'm like, why don't you invest some of your time and do these nice things? Why don't you be a friend and a neighbor? Yesterday at church, Jonathan Chevron, one of our pastors, spoke, and he said, I want to make it difficult to go to hell. If you know me, if you live in my neighborhood, if you go to my church, if you hang around me at all, I want to make it difficult. If you live in this city, I want to make it difficult for you to go to hell. Some people still will. They will insist. They will refuse and not want to hear a word I say, but not because I didn't tell them. I want it to be so hard, just like what Russ is doing. I want it to be hard for men to go back to prison because we're giving them all the tools they need. I want it to be so hard to go to hell and so easy to go to heaven. So hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Change your air filters. We're going to get back to work. Do you ever feel frustrated? Do you ever feel like you're beat down? Like maybe you're not having the best day? I'm sure I'm probably the only one. Today's been one of those days for me. Everything seems to be like, wow, you're just getting beat up every step of the way. Helper with no name, can you vouch for that? She's nodding her head. Yes, she's nodding the camera. That's good. It's been a rough day. Now look, the Bible never promises that we're going to have an easy life. In fact, it says the exact opposite. And a lot of times, the fact that we are going to have problems, our salvation comes through our suffering. Okay? And how we handle the situation oftentimes is a great testimony to other people. How I handled this situation this morning, not a great testimony to my helper. I've been rough and mean, punching holes in walls and kicking things, throwing them around like a spoiled brat, like an immature child. That may not be true, but nevertheless, I want to tell you some stories about somebody who did go through some hard times and how they dealt with it, how it was a blessing. Okay, so literally all the 12 apostles of Jesus were all martyred, which means that they were killed for their faith. Okay, except for John, because they tried to kill him twice and he didn't die. Okay, so here's what happened. They get him, and I was at this place in Ephesus, right? Ephesus is where Paul wrote the book of Ephesians in the New Testament. So they bring him to this Colosseum that held 25,000 people. I was there, not at the time. And they convict him of being a Christian, and he's like, well, you think I'm going to change? You're insane. And so they're like, we're going to sentence you to death. And he's like, okay. And so they decide they're going to boil him in oil. Now I want you to think about this for a second, because if you've ever had a grease burn, then you understand that it would be like that times a lot, like you're getting deep fried. So I once knew, when I worked at Applebee's, the guy was cleaning out the grease, whatever they are, vents, and he slipped because everything was greasy, and he fell into the deep fryer and fried his hand up to about his elbow. Not pleasant, a lot of pain. I also know a guy that got like 90% of his body covered in burns. Not pleasant. Anyway, so they take John and they dip him in boiling oil, and as they're doing it, he's got his hands lifted up, he's praising God, he's singing songs, and he's asking that God forgive these people that are doing this to him. So naturally, they're like, this is different. Minutes later, he should be dead. I don't know how many minutes later. He should be dead. He's still got his hands up. He's still praising God. He's still praying for their forgiveness. He's still singing songs. And he's ready to go home. But he's not dying. And so then the crowd starts to turn, because they're like, wow, his God is real. And so they start to change their mind, at which point the guy in charge is like, get him out of here. And so then they exiled him to the island of Patmos. And so he was not martyred because he was exiled. Well, when he was exiled, that's when he wrote the book of Revelation, in case you're not familiar, the Gospel of John, which is one of the 4 Gospels, and 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John. He wrote those while he was in exile. Then, years later, he ends up coming back to Ephesus, and while he's there, they get him again. They're like, this dude's a Christian. He's like, no kidding. And like, well, you know you're going to die for this. He's like, I figured. And so then they make him drink poison. Guess what happens? I kind of already gave it away. He didn't die again. And after that, they're like, don't try to kill John. He cannot be killed. Don't do it anymore. Because every time you do, the crowd turns and a bunch of people become Christians, because they realize that his God is real and they want to be like that. So that happened a lot. And when people were being martyred, a lot of times people would see their faith in the face of death. It's one thing to say something and you're like, I've got money in this or whatever. It's another thing to be facing death and you're like, I'm going to lose everything anyway. Like, this would be the time to just come clean and be like, look, I'm a fraud. But instead, then they saw like, wow, these people are for real. And so it changed their life. So hopefully you can face your adversities and your beatings, which ours are pretty mild in comparison, in a good way that is a positive influence on people. I hope you guys are having a great day. We're still lying on this floor. Hopefully we'll get done today. It has been a beating. Hello. So we thought about our attitude, mostly me, and I was like, you know what? I need to adjust this because I need to not be a jerk. And so I apologized to my helper, and I was like, I'm so sorry. And she's like, I forgive you. And I'm like, that's the right thing to do, thank you. But I want to show you guys something you might not know. So when you do a floor, you have to take the toilet out, right? So we took the toilet out. And then a lot of times we'll put it on cardboard or something, carpet, or something that's disposable, and put it in the bathtub or the shower. But when you put it back, just be warned that there's a P-trap in that, and a P-trap means that it comes down and over and then down, right? And so there's water in there. So here's how you get that out. You ready? This is really revolutionary for a lot of you. For me, it's really basic. You just tilt it back. That's it. Feel like you learned something? So I learned something. We went to lunch today, and we were passing by this place, and they did eyelash extensions. And so I asked my helper, like, hey, do you think I should get eyelash extensions? Because, you know, like, I want to be pretty too. And of course she laughed at me like, you're an idiot. And then she's like, it would be harder for you to wear sunglasses. And I had never thought about that, like how difficult that must be if you're wearing sunglasses and you got big things in the way. Because I would want the 3-inch ones, right? And I just think that would be difficult. But they had a sign up at the eyelash place that said BLM. And so I didn't know what that stood for because I don't know all the acronyms. I didn't have my Acronomicon with me. So I asked somebody, and they said it stands for Biden Loves Minors. And I'm like, oh, that's great. I used to be a miner. Like when I was younger, I worked in a gold mine, and I don't know which kind of miners he likes, whether they be gold miners or coal miners or whatever, but I mean, I love you too, Biden. Thank you for that. So I hope you guys learned something. As you can clearly see, we got all the flooring done. So I'm very happy about that. Here, turn around, let's take a look inside the closet. So all this floor connects. In other words, once we start on one place, we go all the way through the house and then come back around and hit all the way through the house, and every piece connects to every piece. So here, let's take a quick look. We've got the bathroom in, we've got the toilet in. That's amazing. And so on and so forth. Did that room, this bathroom, hallway. We already showed you this. We did this bedroom, this front entry, and then all that. So we're wrapping this job up. Our customer is very happy, and we're also very happy for him. And here's my question for you guys. Do you enjoy being a victim? I know that that sounds like a dumb question because, like, of course, who wants to be a victim? And the answer is, I think a lot of people. Hear me out on this. If you're a victim of a crime or whatever it may be, right? If somebody robs you or they take advantage of you or whatever it is, they lie to you, cheat on you, you're a victim one time. But if you never heal from that, if you just let that eat away at you and you never forgive and you never let that go, then you continue to be a victim over and over and over and over again for the rest of your life. So my question is, do you want to continue to be a victim, or are you ready to like let that go, let that be in your past, whatever it may be, and no matter how hard it may be. And look, I've dealt with some pretty hard things myself, and it feels so good just to take that, whatever happened to you, and put it down and let go and turn around and walk away. You will feel so much better, like a burden has been lifted off of you. So I encourage you, don't be a victim any longer. Live your life, all right? And we are going to go live our life by driving through traffic. Okay, bye.